I vividly remember meeting Julie for the first time on a rainy afternoon, just as I started a new job at her company. She was kind, funny, and her energy lit up every room. We quickly became inseparable and soon fell in love. Our wedding was small, just close friends and family, exactly how Julie wanted it. And it was perfect. Those were the happiest days of my life. But life can be cruel. Julie's sudden end of life in an accident devastated me, leaving me lost and heartbroken. It took years to heal. And just when I thought I'd never love again, I met Rachel. She brought joy back into my life and I began to move forward. Still, moving on was anything but easy. Now, preparing for my second marriage, I can't help but reflect on how simple my wedding to Julie was. This time, Rachel wanted a big, extravagant event. The details, like color-matching napkins and flower arrangements, were endless and exhausting, though I had little say. My mother-in-law, Rachel, and her friend Amber made the decisions, while my suggestions, inspired by my wedding with Julie, were ignored. I once told Rachel, "Yes, I love Julie deeply, and losing her was unbearable. But that doesn't mean I should forget her or pretend she never existed." Rachel knew my past, and Julie would always be a part of me. Despite the chaos of wedding planning, everything seemed settled, except for minor details, like the color of the umbrella in case of rain or the car to take us from the church. At this point, the only things left unresolved seemed to be out of our control. I stayed silent about it, though. Everyone seemed happy with the wedding preparations, but I felt the need to reconnect with Rachel, who had grown distant. I figured it was the stress of the upcoming wedding. Rachel had always known about my past with Julie, and had helped me through my darkest times. She pulled me out of depression and back into life. She was even patient when I accidentally called her Julie during physical moments, though that happened less over time. I grew to love Rachel deeply, maybe as much as I had loved Julie. However, Rachel was sensitive when I suggested she dress like Julie, and she didn't want me to remove Julie's pictures from my home after she moved in. We also clashed over keeping some of Julie's things versus Rachel's desire to redecorate. It was tough, but we worked through it and grew closer, eventually leading to my proposal. Rachel said yes, but after a long, unsettling pause. I had thought she would be excited, given how much she had pursued me. When she finally spoke, she said, "Yes, Alex, I want to marry you, But what?" I asked, accidentally calling her Julie again. She looked pained, and I quickly corrected myself, but the damage was done. "Alex, I know you've been through a lot, but I think you still love more than one woman," she said tearfully. I reassured her, promising that I loved only her. She cried, then accepted my proposal fully, but a shadow seemed to linger over us after that. It was hard to tell if it was because of the wedding stress or something deeper. To reconnect with Rachel, I planned a surprise wellness weekend. Her mood had been sour during the preparations, and I hoped the trip would help. I vowed not to mention Julie or any wedding details. When I told Rachel about the weekend, she smiled and kissed me, something that had become rare. "A romantic weekend? Oh, Alex, that's so sweet. Thank you," she said. Rachel seemed pleased, and I realized how tense I had been, fearing rejection. Luckily, the surprise hit the mark. "Oh, perfect. Just what we needed to fix things between us." "Yeah, the hotel's great. It has an amazing spa. Julie really loved the seafood restaurant here. You'll see, it'll be fantastic." Damn. I mentioned Julie again. I cursed myself, but Rachel just gave me a strange look. We arrived early, and despite the bad weather, everything was perfect. The hotel, the spa, and our room. I felt optimistic that this would help us reconnect. "This room is beautiful, Alex," Rachel said, looking around. "Yeah, once the weather clears, you can see the lake. It's really romantic," Alex replied. "Oh, how do you know?" Rachel asked, her tone curious. "I've stayed in this room before," Alex admitted. "Oh, you have?" she responded, a bit surprised. "Yeah, with Julie," Alex added, but stopped himself from saying more. "Oh." Rachel looked a bit stunned by the revelation. "You asked for this room," Alex reminded her, trying to ease the tension. "Yeah, I like it," Rachel replied, though her voice had lost some enthusiasm. "I see," Alex said, noticing her irritation. It frustrated him. Why did he have to deny his past with Julie? Rachel knew he loved her. Was it such a big deal to stay in the same room he had shared with his late wife? Shortly after they arrived, a snowstorm hit, and the front desk informed them they'd be stuck at the hotel for a few days. Alex didn't mind. It felt romantic, and he planned to enjoy time alone with Rachel, but she seemed less excited. "I just hope I can get back to work on time," Rachel said abruptly, which annoyed Alex. Let's grab a bite to eat. The restaurant here is great, Alex suggested, trying to change the subject. They were seated at a nice table, one Alex had sat at before with Julie. Let me guess, you sat here with Julie? Rachel asked, her voice laced with sarcasm. Yes, it has a nice view, Alex responded, trying to remain calm. Maybe I should wear a wig, Rachel snapped. A wig? Alex repeated, confused. Yeah, and dress like Julie, she said, her tone sharp. Rachel, stop being ridiculous, Alex said, growing frustrated. Alex, this has to stop, Rachel insisted, her voice firm. You knew about my past from the start, Alex countered. Yes, but I'm not going to relive your life with her. I want to make new memories, not live in Julie's shadow, Rachel said, her frustration clear. Rachel, Julie is part of who I am, Alex explained, trying to make her understand. So I have to share you with her for the rest of my life? Rachel asked, her anger rising. That's not what I mean, Alex started to say. Well, I guess I'll have to deal with it. But if sharing is the deal, you'd better learn something about it too, Rachel shot back, her voice full of anger. I could tell Rachel was struggling with the situation, and I should have been more diplomatic, but it was a sore spot for me too. Before I could say anything, she left the table. I decided to follow her to the buffet, intending to talk and reassure her. She was already in line, chatting with a tall, handsome guy who was clearly interested. They laughed, touched hands, and looked like a couple. I don't usually get jealous, but this was unsettling. They filled each other's plates, giggling like teens, and then sat at a small table for two. I felt a rush of unease, but joined them anyway. Hi, I'm Alex, Rachel's fiancé. I introduced myself, extending a hand. The guy ignored me completely, which hurt. Rachel giggled, clearly trying to get under my skin. Rachel, what's going on? I asked, annoyed. She and the guy, Danny, kept talking and laughing while I sat there, humiliated. Rachel didn't mention me or our wedding, and I grew more frustrated as they bonded over work and family. You're an amazing woman, Rachel. I'm glad we met, Danny said. And I can't believe you're here alone, Danny. I'm glad we're snowed in. It's going to be great, Rachel replied, flirting openly. Rachel, I shouted, but she ignored me. Then she leaned over and kissed him, leaving me stunned. The entire restaurant gasped. I felt utterly humiliated. I didn't want to cause a scene, but I was furious. Rachel continued playing this cruel game, and when she suggested going to his room, Danny looked surprised but willing. They left together, leaving me alone and humiliated. I returned to our room, too stunned to think straight. Hours passed, and I couldn't shake my anger, hurt, and doubts about the marriage. Eventually, I asked the front desk for Danny's room number. They couldn't tell me directly, but hinted it was 107. I went outside, found their room, and saw them cozy on the couch. At least they were fully clothed. I took a picture. They spotted me, waved, and kissed again, clearly mocking me. I took another photo and left, unable to watch any longer. I was crushed, questioning everything about our relationship. Later that night, I saw them in the restaurant, acting like a couple, hugging, kissing, enjoying themselves. I took more pictures, then ordered room service to avoid further humiliation. I waited for Rachel to return and make things right, but she never did. Around 10 p.m., I went back to check their room. The curtains were mostly closed, but I could still see through the gaps. They were kissing again, and then things escalated. I kept taking photos, trying to stay calm, even though it was unbearable. Finally, when they finished and cuddled on the couch, I left, freezing and heartbroken. I went back to our room, cried, pounded the bed in frustration, uploaded the photos to my cloud, and finally fell asleep after taking some sleeping pills. I woke up around 9, with Rachel sitting in a chair, watching me quietly. Neither of us said a word. I wasn't angry anymore, just sad. Thoughts of what could have been ran through my mind. She didn't even look remorseful, just content, as if unaware or indifferent to the impact of her actions. Maybe this had been her plan all along. Are you feeling better now? She asked. No. I'm going to spend the day with Danny until we leave. My stuff is already in his room. After that, I'll be yours again. Unless you mention Julie, she said calmly. No, I replied in the same tone. Enjoy yourself. She left without another word. I couldn't believe how arrogant she'd become. Maybe I had misjudged her all along. She didn't want to end the relationship, just teach me a lesson. Sure, I'd been careless mentioning Julie, but her reaction was extreme. It was over between us. Stuck at the hotel, I felt trapped and humiliated, desperately wanting to escape. My mind kept spiraling, and I knew I needed a distraction. As I headed for breakfast, Michael from the front desk stopped me. You don't have to stay here. The roads will open for a short time today. Follow the supply truck, and you'll be able to leave before the next storm hits. Thank you, Michael. I meant it, and tipped him generously. The idea of escape lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. I packed up, checked out, and followed the delivery truck to the highway with no issues. The drive home was long, and I struggled to process everything that had happened. One thing was clear. There would be no wedding. I canceled everything: the venue, the caterer, the DJ, and sent out simple wedding cancellation notices. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we regret to inform you that our wedding has been canceled. I didn't feel the need to air the dirty details. I also reached out to the San Francisco company I'd turned down because of Rachel. They welcomed me back, saying, "Come here, Alex. We'll find you a place and the job is still yours. Sounds like your ex did you a favor." I wasn't ready to laugh about it yet, but I was relieved. If this had happened 6 months into marriage, it would have been much worse. The pain of losing someone I loved was real, but her betrayal made moving on easier. A whole new life was ahead of me, and for the first time I felt like I truly dodged a bullet. I quit my job, packed my car, and left our apartment. On a whim, I even peed in her underwear drawer, though it didn't feel good afterward. Just a childish act to show my frustration. The drive to San Francisco would take 4 or 5 days, and I looked forward to the solitude and time to reflect. After 2 days of anger and resentment, my phone rang as I started my trip. "Alex, it's Rachel. Thank God the roads are clearing," Rachel said. Alex regretted answering. All the anger surged back, and he stayed silent. "Alex, are you there?" Rachel asked, her voice tense. "Yes," Alex replied flatly. "Did you cancel the wedding?" "My parents called," Rachel said, her tone anxious. "Yes, of course. What did you expect? That I'd still marry you?" Alex responded, his frustration evident. "Alex, please. I was just hurt about the Julie thing and made a mistake. I'm yours now. Nothing has to change," Rachel pleaded. "Maybe, but that person won't be me," Alex said coldly. "What?" Rachel asked, shocked. "I don't care how you justify it. We're done," Alex stated firmly. "Alex, please come get me. We need to talk," Rachel begged, her voice breaking. "No, I'm not your responsibility anymore, and I'm not in the neighborhood," Alex replied dismissively. "Where are you?" Rachel asked, desperate. "Kearney, Nebraska. I'm heading to California, starting a new life without you," Alex said, his voice resolute. Rachel began to sob, but Alex hung up. When the phone rang again, he blocked her number. He resumed his journey, though the anger still lingered. An hour later, the phone rang again. "Alex speaking?" Alex answered, sounding tired. "Hey, Alex, it's Carl, Rachel's father. Did you cancel the wedding?" Carl asked, his tone concerned. "Yeah, or, more accurately, Rachel did with her behavior," Alex replied. "What happened?" Carl asked. "She flirted with a guy right in front of me, kissed him, went to his room, and spent the weekend with him. The whole hotel knew," Alex explained, his voice tinged with bitterness. Carl was silent for a moment. "I'm sorry, Alex, you're right. She's not ready for marriage. I apologize on her behalf," Carl said regretfully. "No hard feelings, Carl. I always liked you and Sue," Alex replied, softening his tone. "What will you do now?" Carl asked. "I'm heading to San Francisco to start fresh," Alex said. "Good luck, Alex. You're a good man," Carl said sincerely. "Thanks, Carl. Goodbye," Alex replied, ending the conversation. That call hurt. My future had fallen apart in just days. Friends called during the drive, and though I didn't share details, most seemed to understand the breakup. Eventually, the calls stopped, and I focused on starting my new life. But it wasn't easy. My thoughts kept drifting back to Rachel, the good times, and that awful weekend. After 2 months in San Francisco, my doorbell rang one Friday evening. Expecting Jehovah's Witnesses, I reluctantly opened it, but it was worse. Rachel, looking beautiful and nervous. I immediately slammed the door. She rang again, but I turned off the doorbell. How did she find me? I knew I couldn't avoid her forever, so I reopened the door, but she was gone. Good. The next morning, the doorbell rang again. Still groggy, I opened it, and there she was. I let her in without a word, resigned to the inevitable conversation. We sat in silence, sipping coffee. She had clearly made an effort to look exactly how I liked, but my feelings for her were gone. This realization made me calm. "Alex," she whispered, struggling to speak. "I'm sorry." I stayed quiet, letting her talk. "I've been awful, and I'm sorry it took so long to find you. You can mention Julie whenever. It's something I'll just have to live with. I was insecure and thought you didn't really love me, that I was just a substitute. You kept pictures of her everywhere. You called me Julie sometimes, and she was always in your mind during wedding planning. Taking me to that spa where you'd been with her, it was too much. I snapped, and I'm sorry. I nodded, understanding. I should have been more sensitive, but that doesn't justify humiliating me and cheating on me. I know, she said, tearing up. I've regretted it every day. We sat in silence, unsure of what to do next. How did you find me? I asked. All our friends know your address, but none wanted to tell me. I tricked someone by borrowing their phone, she admitted. I was glad my friends had my back. I gave up our apartment and my job. I rented a place nearby and am looking for work. I was surprised by what Rachel said, but it didn't change anything for me. Her news didn't make me happy. It just meant she'd be around, making things harder. Still, I felt strong enough to resist her. Alex, I know I hurt you at the hotel. I did it on purpose and humiliated you in public. I pushed you away, and you had no choice but to leave. At first, I didn't understand why I did it. I loved you then, and I still do. I didn't care about Danny. He was attractive, but I didn't even like him. I tried to convince myself it was about teaching you a lesson, but deep down, I knew I just wanted to hurt you. So, what was the real reason? Alex asked, his voice calm but probing. My dad thinks I was just jealous, Rachel admitted softly. Jealous of a dead woman? Alex asked, incredulous. You always talked about Julie like she was perfect, the most beautiful, flawless woman. I felt like I couldn't compete with her. I was so intimidated by her memory that I didn't even want to accept your proposal, even though it was my dream, Rachel confessed, her voice cracking. Rachel, I'm sorry for making you feel that way, Alex said, guilt creeping into his voice. Julie wasn't perfect, and we had our arguments, but I didn't think it was right to mention those after she died. I shouldn't have put her on a pedestal in front of you. Oh, Alex, Rachel sobbed and lunged toward him, seeking comfort. Wait, Alex stopped her gently. I said you could compete with her in the past, but now my view of you is tainted. Alex, she whispered through her tears, give me a chance to prove you wrong. I'll be patient. I'll stay by your side until you trust me again. You can still talk about Julie, and I'll learn to live with it. I don't know. It's not that simple, Alex replied, shaking his head. I'll do whatever it takes, no matter how long, Rachel pleaded, her determination growing. Quite the speech, Rachel. I believe you, Alex said calmly, though his neutral tone confused her. How do you feel about me? She asked, almost in a whisper. I still love you. I haven't been with anyone since that night. I think I've mostly forgotten you, though. I'm not mad anymore, Alex admitted. But I also don't love you anymore. Rachel flinched at his words, but quickly regained her composure. That's bad, but I can work with it. You loved me once. Maybe you'll fall in love with me again. Rachel, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Your reaction was completely out of proportion. What's next if I forget to take out the trash? Hire a hitman? Trust isn't even a goal for me right now. I swear I'll never be that stupid again. If we get back together, I'll sign a contract. If you leave me, I get nothing. No money, no kids, nothing. Kids? I laughed, surprised. Yes, if we ever get back together. Here's the contract, she said, handing me a document. I was shocked to see how harsh it was. If we broke up, she'd get nothing, not even visitation rights. I doubted it was even legal. Did Carl help you write this? Alex asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, is it that obvious? Rachel admitted, a bit embarrassed. Well, I don't want to be with you because of a contract. And the real issue remains. I don't love you anymore. I don't trust you. I'm not even sure I like you, Alex replied, his tone firm. That last comment seemed to sting. I don't even like myself, Rachel admitted softly. I get that. You hurt me deeply for no reason, Alex said, shaking his head. Alex, how about this? Show me around San Francisco. We can just be friends and you can see how things go, Rachel suggested, trying to find a middle ground. Alex paused, considering her offer. He wondered if avoiding Rachel would feel like running away, and that would seem weak. The truth was, he still liked her, even if he didn't trust her, and he didn't want to hide. Plus, he had no friends in San Francisco, so her company might be welcome. Spending time with her would prove to him that he was over her. I don't know the city that well either, but I can show you what I know, Alex replied finally. Thanks, Alex, Rachel said, smiling as she headed to the kitchen to make breakfast, humming confidently. Alex didn't mind her being around. but he knew there was no chance of them getting back together, contract or no contract. Over the next few weeks, Rachel eagerly sought time with Alex, often wearing revealing outfits and finding excuses to touch him. Once, while wearing a loose t-shirt, she kept leaning forward, practically offering a view of her cleavage, but Alex wasn't interested. He looked everywhere but at her chest, smiling inwardly as she tried harder to catch his attention. Eventually, he left the room to stop himself from laughing. Another time, she wore hot pants so short they resembled a bikini bottom, pairing them with stiletto heels. She spent the day bending over in front of him, pretending to look for something. "Rachel, are you looking for something? Can I help?" Alex asked, raising an eyebrow. "No, I'm fine. Just thought I lost an earring," she replied, clearly frustrated. When they went shopping together, Rachel found every excuse to press her body against Alex, but he pretended not to notice, enjoying the irony of her frustration. She was clearly hot for him, but he kept rejecting her advances, probably hurting her ego. Alex felt a little sorry for her, but he wasn't going to sleep with her just to make her feel better. She was trying to win him back in cheap ways, and it wasn't working. Weeks later, they sat in Alex's living room, and Rachel's advances had slowed down. Suddenly, she asked bluntly, "Alex, when are you going to entertain me again?" "What?" Alex asked, caught off guard by her directness, though he knew exactly what she meant. "You know you can have me, right? Just for fun, no strings attached." "I'm on the pill, clean and free," Rachel said, her voice suggestive. I didn't know how to let her down gently. She was beautiful, but she was still Rachel, the same Rachel who had told me, "It's already decided. Try to have a good time." While I was lost in thought, she pulled off her sweater, revealing a t-shirt underneath with big text saying, "Alex's girlfriend." She turned around to show the same words on the back. "Nice, huh?" she said, smiling. "Yes," I replied, still shocked. "I bought 20 of these. I plan to wear them everywhere. I know it's not true yet, but I want to show my commitment. However, I need your approval to wear them in public." Her eyes sparkled with hope, waiting for me to agree. I shook my head. "That's impossible. Let's just be friends, okay?" Her face fell, and her eyes watered, but she stayed strong. "Okay, Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push. I'm surprised I can even spend time with you again, but that's all I'm willing to do." "I understand," she said, looking utterly disappointed. "Alex, I have time. I have no other plans. I'll keep working to get you back. I'll be patient. You can even glorify Julie if you want. I'll learn to live with it." I sighed, unsure how to respond. I didn't want to hurt Rachel or seek revenge, but I also didn't want her holding on to false hope. Still, she kept hanging around, clearly wanting more, though she didn't push too hard. Her hopes were high, but I remained determined not to start a real relationship with her. I told her as much, but it didn't stop her efforts. One night I got home late and was frustrated the light was out again. Stumbling in the dark, I accidentally kicked something soft. I used my phone's flashlight and saw a small woman curled up on the floor. Confused, I carried her inside. She was dirty but seemed healthy, so I put her in the guest room, covered her with blankets, and went to bed. I woke up unexpectedly in the middle of the night, not because of my alarm, but because of something pleasant. I should have told her to stop, but all I managed was a weak, yeah. We had sex, and before I knew it, she disappeared back into the guest room. It was over as quickly as it started, leaving me wondering if it had even happened. The next morning, I heard her humming in the shower. She was thin but had a pretty face and seemed relaxed while eating breakfast. We didn't talk about the night before. After eating, she got dressed, said, "You're a nice guy," and left without a trace. I was stunned. I had just slept with a woman whose name I didn't even know. Then when I found a needle in the trash, a chill ran down my spine. Panic set in as I realized we hadn't used protection. I immediately went to the doctor, who told me I didn't have any detectable STDs but needed to wait for some results. I swore I'd think before acting next time. Meanwhile, Rachel continued pushing for more, but I couldn't see myself being with her again. I still found her attractive, but the love I once felt was gone. She wisely kept her marriage and kids' talk to a minimum, knowing too much pressure would push me away. We spent time together as friends, and while she hoped for more, I knew it was never going to happen. Months later, Rachel and I were about to have dinner when the doorbell rang. She jumped up to answer it, always eager to assert herself as if she were still my partner. I let her, realizing I'd been keeping her around for companionship while never fully clarifying that we wouldn't get back together. Despite her beauty and the fact she could be with someone else, she remained determined to win me over. When the door opened, I turned to see the woman I'd met months earlier standing there, still thin, except for her noticeably large stomach. Rachel looked surprised but quickly understood the implications of the woman's visit and her condition. "Please, come in," Rachel said quietly. "Join us for dinner. I'm Rachel." "Annie," the woman mumbled, uninterested in pleasantries. Annie sat down without hesitation and began eating. "I'm pregnant," she said bluntly, confirming what we had guessed. "It's yours," she added, pointing her fork at me. I stared at the steak on her fork, trying to process it. "You're the only one I've had unprotected sex with," she continued, as if discussing the weather. I was too shocked to respond. Rachel, however, stayed calm. "Really? The only one?" I muttered, still in disbelief. "That's hard to believe." "Nevertheless, it's true," Annie replied, unfazed. "Don't worry. I want to work things out. I like you, and I don't want trouble. Funny thing is, I don't even know your name." "I'm Alex," I said weakly. "Nice to meet you. It was fun having sex with you," she grinned. Rachel even chuckled a bit. "Alex, you slept with her without knowing her name?" Rachel asked, surprisingly calm. "Yeah, I guess so." "So? What now? Do you want infanticide?" Rachel asked. "No, it's too late. I've seen the ultrasounds. It's a baby now, and I can't end her life," Annie replied, her tone more serious. Rachel didn't miss a beat. "No problem. We'll adopt her." "What?" I dropped my fork, completely shocked. Rachel turned to me. "Shut up, Alex. This is a woman's matter. This could have been my baby if I hadn't messed up." I tried to speak, but Rachel was already making decisions. Annie nodded, agreeing with Rachel's plan. "You can't raise a child while using pills," Rachel said firmly. Annie hesitated, then admitted, "You're right. I've been on hard substances for a while, and I'm not sure I can stop, even for my baby. My life is a mess." The mood turned somber. Rachel remained composed. "Keeping you off pills is Alex's job. You'll live here, stay clean, and I'll adopt the baby. After that, you're free." Annie thought for a moment, then agreed. "Okay, deal." Rachel extended her hand, and Annie shook it. Just like that, my fate was sealed. I got up and cleared the dishes while the two women made plans for my life. Annie was set to stay in the guest room, and Rachel began staying over more frequently. Though Rachel hinted we'd be a couple again, I stayed quiet, grateful for her help, but uneasy with how things were unfolding. The next morning, we moved Annie's things from her old place to my apartment. Her previous place was so bad I wouldn't have parked my car there. "Wow, your life's been rough, huh?" Alex asked while packing. "Yeah, and it's about to get worse," she replied with a smirk. "Hey, I'm not that bad," Alex joked, trying to lighten the mood. "Ever heard of cold turkey?" she asked, her tone turning serious. "Not the food, right?" Alex quipped. "Nope, get your guest room ready. There'll be vomit and it'll be hell," she said bluntly. "Well, hopefully my daughter will appreciate it someday," she added with an ironic smile. "Our daughter," Alex corrected, surprising even himself with the words. "Really?" she asked, tears filling her eyes. "Our daughter," Alex repeated firmly. "You're not alone." "Oh, Alex, thank you." She hugged him tightly, though Alex noticed her glancing warily at Rachel. Later she asked, "Do you have vacation left?" "I can take 2 weeks unpaid," Alex responded. "The first 3 days will be the worst," she warned. "What should I expect?" Alex asked, preparing himself. "All the good stuff," she said sarcastically. "Vomiting, sweating, shaking, screaming at you, trying to escape. I'll hate you." "Got it," Alex said, resigned to what was coming. And that's exactly what happened. Twice she nearly escaped while I cleaned her bathroom. I ended up with scrapes and bruises, and the room was wrecked. She screamed a lot, but we survived the first 3 days. By then, I was familiar with all her bodily functions, and none of it was remotely pleasant. I sat by her bed, exhausted, looking at the trembling, vomit-covered mess. I didn't feel noble, just tired and dirty, helping a woman I'd carelessly impregnated. The whole thing was awkward, gross, and depressing, and I barely noticed the smell of vomit anymore. Her erratic sleep schedule left me equally sleep-deprived. A few hours later, she was up and pacing. "The worst is over. I need to be alone now. I'll take a walk." "Anna, you can't leave yet. 2 weeks, then you're free." "Let me go," she screamed. "No, Anna." She shifted to pleading. "Please, I need something to ease the pain." "Let's get something to eat," I suggested, trying to calm her. "Okay," she said, but suddenly made a run for the door. Luckily, she couldn't open it. It pushed instead of pulled. After that, I remembered to lock it, just to be safe. A few days later, she looked much better. Her eyes were clear again, and she seemed to have regained her composure. She was also sweating and shivering less, though she was still too thin. Now that her hair wasn't piled up and her skin wasn't so shiny, she was looking quite beautiful again. The worrying part was her attachment and emotional instability, which made me a bit uneasy. I couldn't tell if it was due to the pregnancy or the withdrawal, but she suddenly started touching me constantly, hugging and kissing me. That is, when she wasn't sitting in the corner crying or laughing. I couldn't fully avoid her emotional swings. When she was sad, it hurt me. When she was goofy, I usually joined in. When she was clingy, I enjoyed the closeness of this pretty woman. And when she was suddenly turned on, you can guess what happened. Suddenly, we were back in bed together, having sex again. It was intense, full of need and desire. I hadn't realized how much I wanted this little woman until now, but I really, really needed to have her, and I was sure she felt the same. It seemed like her withdrawal, with all the vomiting, shaking, screaming, and yelling, had somehow bonded us. I was still aware I was having unprotected sex with a courtesan again, despite my promise not to be that stupid anymore. But at least she couldn't get pregnant again. And surprisingly, I never felt like I was with a hooker. She was actually pretty shy and even cried a little afterward, clinging to me like a burr. I didn't mind, not one bit. We sat on the bed afterward, me feeling satisfied and still a little surprised. "So I guess you don't hate me as much anymore, huh?" I asked. "Don't be so sure, mister. That was still my bad side. Wait until you see me at my best." "No, really. I think I've beaten my demons now, and I'm starting to think straight again." "No, I never hated you. You were just trying to help me and our baby, and I'm grateful for that." She smiled cheekily. She was very charming, and she was getting prettier every time. If this kept up, I'd have to fight guys off with a stick. Wait, what? Why do I feel like I need to protect her? Did I really think she was my woman? I decided to deal with this problem with a proven tactic, procrastination. In the weeks that followed, the Spencer family seemed very relaxed. Annie and I got to know each other surprisingly well. Being sick and getting yelled at seemed to have created a strong bond between us. It helped that I was no longer stuck in the role of prison warden. We grew closer every day, laughing a lot and having sex. I even noticed a few glances in my direction that might have been longing. Yeah, honestly, I was starting to look at her the same way. Of course, Rachel still visited us regularly, and she didn't miss the changes. "Alex, you two aren't developing some kind of love relationship, are you?" she asked. "I'm not sure, Rachel. We're definitely getting closer." She looked completely shocked. "Alex, don't do this to me. I feel like I'm so close to getting you back. Don't let me lose you to that fool, okay? Rachel, you know that." Yes, I know. I'm not asking for anything. You can do whatever you want, but you know I still haven't given up hope. Alex, I'm going to keep fighting for you. I won't give up, even if it takes decades." I just sighed and let the matter drop because Annie had walked into the room. I knew Rachel was struggling, but I was starting to see Annie as my girlfriend now. And I'm definitely a one-woman man. Annie and I grew even closer as I made sure she stayed away from pills, went with her to checkups, bought tons of baby supplies, and did everything else parents do to prepare for a new baby. We acted like a normal couple, and that's exactly how it felt to me. After our daughter Mel was born, everything became clearer. Annie, Mel, and I were a family, no question about it. The idea of giving Mel up for adoption now seemed absurd. Of course, we were going to keep her. Rachel noticed all of this during her frequent visits. "Alex, I've lost you forever, haven't I?" she asked. "Yes, Rachel. What we had is over." "Alex, please," she sobbed. "This isn't fair. I know I completely screwed up that weekend, but I did everything I could to make things right. Doesn't that count for something?" "I don't know if it's fair. I belonged to you exclusively, but you were the one who separated us for no good reason. That meant we were both free to be with someone else, and that's what happened. It's not about fairness, and it wasn't intentional. There's no set price for what you did that weekend. You threw a bomb between us, and you never know which direction will be blown. In my case, it led me to Annie." "Alex!" She was openly sobbing now. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her. "Rachel, you're still young and beautiful. Go find the right man, and don't do anything like that again, okay?" "No, Alex. I'll wait for you." "No, don't." There was nothing I could do. I sighed. She was right. If she had chosen to throw her life away, that was tragic. But I couldn't stop her. That's how things ended with Rachel. It was sad because I once loved her, and things could have been great. But I didn't love her anymore. And she didn't love me either. I was starting to fall for Anna. No, actually, I was already completely in love with her. her awkward, innocent, and charming ways, her sweet face, and her complete devotion to me. She practically worshipped me. The biggest difference with Rachel was that I actually trusted Anna, which was strange. I trusted a former pill dependent and courtesan, but couldn't bring myself to trust my ex-wife, who had only been wild for one weekend. The next few years brought us a small civil wedding, raising Mel, Rachel's disappearance, thankfully, and no recurring pill issues. Life with Anna wasn't always easy, of course. She still had major mood swings, but by then, I knew her well enough to handle it. The deep love we had for each other helped too. Mel was amazing. She had me wrapped around her little finger. Everything fell apart shortly after Mel's second birthday. I just put Mel to bed while Anna was still out shopping. Mel had worn me out again, and I collapsed on the couch, ready to zone out in front of the TV like usual. The doorbell rang the moment I sat down. Annoyed, I got up and opened the door. 2 policemen stood there. "Good evening. How can I help you?" "Good evening, Mr. Spencer. I'm Sergeant Jacobs. Are you married to Anna Spencer?" "Yeah. What's wrong?" I asked, suddenly feeling anxious. "Mr. Spencer, I am very sorry to inform you that we found your wife dead. Would you please come with us?" I didn't understand the rest. I collapsed. I'd kissed her goodbye just 2 hours ago. Was that the last time Mel or I would ever see her alive? Was she really never coming back? Would I never hear her laugh again? Never kiss her? Never hear her curse when she stepped on my foot? Never feel her snuggle into me? Never smell her scent again? "Annie, where are you? What happened? Why?" After who knows how long, a policeman shook me. "Mr. Spencer, are you all right? Should we call an ambulance?" No, I'm fine." It turned out she had died of a massive hard substances overdose. I had no idea she was still using. One of the officers casually mentioned he knew her, said she worked part-time as a courtesan and was too experienced with pills to make such a fatal mistake. They were sure she had eliminated herself. I was stunned. I didn't know. I barely knew her. She had been living a double life. Within days, I was shattered, unable to work, struggling to take care of Mel. A week after her end of life, I sat on the couch again, staring blankly at the TV, crying occasionally, feeling lost and incapable of handling the situation, emotionally and practically. Mel was crying again, which had become normal. Losing Annie devastated me and created a host of practical problems. My time off was almost over, and I needed to return to work. How was I going to take care of Mel? I had no family nearby and no one to rely on. Could I hire a babysitter? Could I trust anyone? Most of the people I'd trusted had deceived me in some way. Yeah, even Anna. Thinking back, she loved me, but she also deceived me. She lived a double life as a courtesan and pill dependent while I was at work or away on business. And now she had left me and Mel without a word or explanation. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. It had been ringing for a while. Mel was still crying. I felt completely overwhelmed. By Anna's end of life, by Mel's constant crying, by the weight of everything. I had tried to feed her and failed again, and I couldn't rock her to sleep. I felt helpless. Ding dong. The door or Mel? I had no idea what to do with Mel, but the door gave me a clear task. I could walk over, open it, and see who was there. So I did, and instantly regretted it. "No, please, no more complications. My life's hard enough as it is," I muttered. It was Rachel. "No," was all I managed to say. "You look awful." "I'm so sorry, Alex. It must have been terrible," she said softly, stepping in and hugging me. Strangely, I felt nothing. After 2 years apart, this was the woman I almost married. Yet I felt nothing. Shouldn't I feel something? Anger, sadness, anything? But there was only awkward indifference. Or maybe I was just too exhausted. She didn't seem to notice. Finally, she let go and carried the large bag she had with her into Mel's room. "Hey," I weakly protested, but followed her into the room, too exhausted to resist. She picked up Mel from the bed, gently rocked her, and hummed a quiet tune. Amazingly, Mel started calming down. After a while, she seemed completely content, which astonished me. Rachel carefully laid her back in bed, covered her up, and then walked straight into the kitchen as if she lived here, unloading her bags and preparing food for Mel. "How did you—" I started. "I've read all about it." "What? When?" "When I heard about Anna's end of life. I knew right away that you'd be in trouble, Alex," she said matter-of-factly, though I noticed her stealing quick glances in my direction, betraying her calm exterior. "Do you still live in the neighborhood?" "Of course. I never moved. And no, I'm not dating anyone. Yes, I've been watching you. No, I haven't had a man since that weekend when I ruined my life." She turned to face me, tears welling up in her eyes. Yes, I still love you, she whispered, and then quickly left the room. I followed her to Mel's room and watched as she rocked and fed her. Damn, why wasn't Mel crying? Usually when I tried, the entire neighborhood needed earplugs. Rachel handled Mel effortlessly. She had come prepared. After a while, she turned to me again. What's your plan, Alex? I'll take care of you, she continued before I could answer. I'll always be here for you, always. I stayed in the background so I wouldn't interfere with your marriage. But now that you're struggling, I have to step in. That was quite a declaration. This woman had clearly made up her mind to dedicate her life to me, which was remarkable. Was it love or guilt? Could guilt drive someone to wait patiently for 2 years and then rush to help like this? What do you mean? Alex asked, feeling more confused than ever. I quit my job, she announced. You what? Alex replied, shocked. How else can I take care of you and Mel? You need a full-time nanny, and Mel needs me too, she said with a smile. To Alex's surprise, he found himself laughing for the first time in ages. She was right. Have you eaten anything? She asked, concerned. Since when? Alex responded. Since Anna's end of life, she said softly. I don't remember, Alex admitted. All right, Mel's fed. Now it's your turn. Just sit on the couch, she instructed. Alex did as she said, sitting down and realizing how grateful he was for her presence. Having someone to talk to, someone to fend off the loneliness and helplessness was a huge relief. He could hear her rattling pots and pans in the kitchen. After a while, she returned with a plate of food. Feeling better? She asked, handing him the plate. Yes, less lonely. And you're right. I do need help with Mel. Thank you. But what about your job? Alex asked, still processing everything. Alex, for 2 years, I haven't had a life. I haven't gone out or spent much. I've just stayed in my little apartment. The only thing I spent money on was the gym, she explained. You? The gym? Alex asked, surprised. Yes, I wanted to. Well, I'll explain later. She blushed a little. Anyway, I've saved up a lot. I can live for almost a year without working. We'll figure things out before then, she assured him. Oh, Alex said, feeling like he'd been thrown a lifeline, but unsure how to respond. Yes, I'll take care of you. In a year, you'll know what to do with your life. Maybe you'll meet someone new. Maybe you'll reconsider other options, she said with a small smile. Oh, I have to check on dinner. The meal was delicious, and Alex thanked her repeatedly. Afterward, he felt the urge to collapse into bed and sleep for a week. But she wasn't having it. Oh no, mister. You're not going to bed without a shower and brushing your teeth, okay? She teased. Yes, Mom, Alex joked, and she gave him a playful nudge in the ribs. She was right, though. His hygiene had been terrible lately. When I stepped out of the shower, I found my bed freshly made. It hit me that Anna had been the last one to make it, and the thought saddened me. As I climbed into bed under Rachel's benevolent smile, I couldn't stop thinking about Anna. Was our love real? Could you truly love someone you didn't fully know? She clearly hadn't trusted me enough to tell me everything. Soon after, I drifted into sleep, something I hadn't done peacefully since Anna's end of life. The next morning, I woke up to breakfast waiting on the nightstand. I was surprised I had slept through the night, something that hadn't happened since it all began. How had Rachel managed to keep Mel quiet? She wasn't just determined to help me. She was also quite capable of it. I ate breakfast, feeling a comfort that had escaped me for weeks. A little while later, Rachel entered the room humming happily, holding a sleeping Mel in her arms. She made it all seem so easy. Could a baby really adapt so quickly without her mother? One thing was for sure. I couldn't move on from Anna that easily. I was still grieving, still shocked by her end of life and the double life she had led. It hurt deeply, but I was thankful for Rachel's help, even if I didn't feel any special affection for her. Not yet. Feeling better? She asked, sitting beside me. Physically, yes, thanks to you. Emotionally, I'm still in shock. I don't understand how this all happened. Are you talking about Anna's end of life? She asked softly. About everything. Anna's end of life, the sudden change, I feel like I'm drifting. If you want me to move out, I will, Rachel said quietly. I don't want to impose. No, don't. You're helping me a lot. Please stay. She nodded, and I noticed a tear escape her eye. A few days later, I returned to work, confident Rachel could handle things. She was amazing with Mel, managing everything, including my emotional state, while giving me space when needed. She never tried to kiss me, but she'd hug me when I was down. Exactly what I needed at the time. Alex, I need to visit my parents this weekend. Can you manage a few days alone? she asked about 2 months after Anna's end of life. I realized I didn't want her to leave. It wasn't about practical reasons. I needed her presence, which confused me. Rachel smiled when she noticed, exclaiming, "Yes, yes!" She hugged me, and I realized I still loved her. The feeling had been buried under stress, but it was there. Rachel kissed me for the first time in years, and I hadn't realized how much I needed it. Everything felt good again, even if just for the moment. The sex that followed was a little awkward, but we didn't care. Afterward, Rachel promised, "Just don't hurt me again." "Never, Rachel. Never again," I assured her. We had both suffered, but it wasn't in vain. We had Mel, and I promised to be the best partner I could be. "Good," Rachel said. "You'll handle the weekend alone, but don't stay longer. From now on, this is our home, and we'll be a family." Life started to fall into place. Mel called Rachel Mommy, and we decided not to tell her the truth until she was older, if ever. We were happy as we were. One day, Rachel came to me and said, "Alex, I love Mel like my own, but I want to carry your baby. I was so jealous of Annie." "Then let's do it," I said without hesitation. Rachel became emotional, clearly surprised by my response. I didn't see a problem since we were already a family. "Do you trust me enough to have a baby with me?" I asked. "Yes," she replied, pressing herself against me, sobbing softly. "Thank you for asking, Rachel." "I'd never trick you," she said, looking into my eyes. "I know. So let's start," I replied. "I just need to get off the pill, but we can start practicing right now," she smiled mischievously. And that's exactly what we did. Tonight, we finished a special meal. I insisted on cooking and went all out: candles, a white tablecloth, and 3 courses. Rachel was pleasantly surprised, but I could tell she seemed a little nervous during dinner. I didn't usually do this kind of thing, and she was starting to suspect something. I needed to act quickly if I wanted to keep the surprise intact. I walked around the table and got down on one knee. Her jaw dropped like a stone as I fumbled in my pocket. "Rachel?" I said softly. "Yes?" she asked, wide-eyed. "Would you—" Yes, Alex, yes, of course, I'll marry you," she blurted out before I could finish, her joy overflowing. I went quiet, pulling her into a huge kiss as I fell back under her pregnant body. "Thank you, Rachel," I said, still in awe of the moment. "Are you kidding me? Thanking me? I should be thanking you. And I'll keep thanking you for the rest of my life," she said, her eyes glowing. "And you know, we still have that contract," I teased. "Yes, but I don't think I'll need it," she smiled. "You won't," I reassured her. "Oh, and Rachel, one more thing. It's about Mel," I began cautiously. "She needs a mother." "But she already has one," Rachel said, her tone softening. "Yes, but not legally," I pointed out. Rachel looked at me, and to my surprise, tears filled her eyes. "God, you'll be lucky today," she said through her sobs, "and for the rest of your life." And I was. Now, back in the present, I'm lounging by the pool in the backyard, and my beautiful wife keeps casting longing glances my way while I play with our son. The wedding was small, just in time for my overjoyed father to witness it before he lost his battle with cancer. Before the wedding, I had waited for any sign of Rachel's old madness returning, but she knew exactly what I was thinking and just smiled. "It's not happening, Alex. Not this time. I've learned my role," she said with quiet confidence. She was right. I just hope marriage turns out to be less complicated for others. I always knew the process would be tricky, but Rachel's and my version seemed a bit over the top. Dear readers, if you've actually made it through this story, it ends right here. What follows is an alternate ending for those who prefer quick resolutions. It makes no sense and doesn't relate to the story. I just assume these readers prefer simpler narratives. "It's over, Rachel. I truly loved you, but you've completely destroyed all my feelings for you."
"No!" she howled. "Alex, I can fix this. Please give me another chance. I know how stupid I was, and it won't happen again. I've learned my lesson, and I love only you."
"It's too little. Too late, Rachel. And by the way, your lover Danny tried to confront me. Apparently, he had no idea about my Navy SEAL background. He's not a bad guy, Alex. Did you hurt him badly?" "Not too much, I guess. But he won't be doing much for a while. He didn't realize it was a covert intelligence op." "I'm so sorry about how things turned out, Alex. And don't worry about the $15 million. It's safe in my Cayman offshore account. I know it looked bad when I tried to pill you for the cartel and they attempted to steal your Mustang, but it was never about the money. All I ever wanted was you."
"But you can't have him anymore," a woman's voice said from behind.
Rachel spun around, shocked.
And who are you? Rachel demanded. I'm Sasha, Alex's new fiancée, the woman replied, her voice cool and confident. She was a few years younger than Rachel and looked like a supermodel. And since I run an international private investigation firm, we already have all the evidence we need. If you're not careful, that video of your ménage à trois will end up on the internet. You're finished, Rachel. Alex and I are meant to be together.
No, Rachel howled, her voice rising to the intensity of a jet engine.
Yes, Sasha continued, unfazed. You had an honest man and you threw him away. Now he's mine and I'm pregnant with his twins. Have a nice life, Rachel. I did love you, but we're done forever. At that moment, Rachel stood frozen, realizing how foolish she had been to treat Alex that way.